AsyncTask is unlike all the other classes that we've used before. All the other classes like Activity or View perform their work on the main thread.
Yeah, with AsyncTask, however, some parts of the class are run on the main thread in the foreground. And other parts of the task are run on a separate thread, which is obviously in the background.
Yes, so AsyncTask deals with more than one thread. So let's walk through this together step by step. AsyncTask is an abstract class. You first learned about abstract classes from the last course with Jessica when you were building the Miwok language app. An abstract class contains some methods that are left blank for us as developers to override and provide our own implementations. To use an async task, we'll need to make a custom subclass. We'll call this one Earthquake Async Task. The subclass is required to override the method doInBackground. From our earlier demonstration, whatever work you want to happen in the background thread should be included in the doInBackground method. Once you've got the earthquake data from the server, you probably want to update the UI. But to update the UI, you must be on the main thread, not a background thread. So how do you communicate between the main and background threads? You can override a method in AsyncTask called onPostExecute. This method runs on the main thread, which is why I highlighted it in green. This method will be called after the background work is done, which is why it's called onPostExecute. If I reveal more details about the methods, we can see that the doInBackground method returns a result. That result is passed in as the input to the onPostExecute method. If the result of the doInBackground method is a list of earthquakes from the server, then in onPostExecute, that list of data now has been migrated back to the main thread where we can update the list view in the app to display the new data. If you need to, there is also an AsyncTask method named onPreExecute, which is called on the main thread before the background work is started, hence the name onPreExecute. Developers will override this method if there's something that needs to be done before preparing to do the background work. Sometimes the background work can take a really long time. Some developers may want to update the user about the progress in the background task. For example, an app may download a photo from the internet and may display a progress bar in the meantime. Within the doInBackground method, we can periodically call the publishProgress method and pass in the new progress value. Then we can override the onProgressUpdate method, which occurs on the main thread, which can be used to update the UI with the new progress values, which is 72% in this case. Let's look at the documentation for the AsyncTask class. We can scroll down to the Methods section, and you can see that doInBackground is listed as being an abstract method, so we are required to implement this method. We also recognize other methods like onPreExecute, onProgressUpdate, and onPostExecute. These methods are not abstract, so it's not required for us to implement these methods. Scrolling back up, we can also find this code example of a class called downloadFiles_task that subclasses AsyncTask. We'll talk about this example in more detail later, but the main gist is that in the doInBackground method, a file is downloaded, which can take a long time, so it's done on a background thread. Note that the input in the doInBackground method can be a list of items to process, which in this case is a list of files to download. Progress is reported incrementally, and we can update the screen with the percentage progress so far. After the background work is completed, we show a dialog with how many bytes of information were downloaded successfully. Now in this quiz, I want you to fill in this table about the most common callback methods in AsyncTask. Describe what each method is called in your own words, then indicate whether the method is run on the main thread or on a background thread. You can check the link below the quiz if you need help.